Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
Okay, if we all have a quorum here, let's call the meeting on Monday at 3 p.m. on April 6th to order. Will somebody have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
Okay, I'm going to turn the recording on, Joe.
Do we have a second?
Just a second.
Second it.
Tell me when you're ready. In favor? I think it's
Wait a
3.
second.
Aye.
Wait a second. We're going to need an executive.
We had one. Oh, well,
Yeah.
you say may need executive session. Will that
No, you're
suffice?
looking at the wrong agenda. That's what I was trying to tell you, Joe. This agenda I sent out last. It has, it's the one I sent out this morning. I just sent it just before the meeting started.
Well, yeah, I know, but I didn't print it out. I printed out 2 other ones already.
Well, okay, then you won't have the right agenda. What can I tell you? This is the agenda.
All right, so what's the difference so I can adjust mine?
I have no idea.
Like what I've got. I didn't print it out today.
Okay, okay, let me just read through it really quickly. Adopt agenda, approve minutes, highway report. Under highway report, essentials and non-essentials of highway work, weight permits, which there are none. HB culvert. Number 4 is clerk treasurer report. Number 5, coronavirus. Number 6, purchase policy discussion. Number 7, village park work and forester. Number 8, inquiring into the need to acquire future cemetery land. 9, other business. 10, public comment. 11, date of next meeting, and adjourn.
That's what I have.
That's what I got.
You missed one thing. Under a highway report, the first bullet in parentheses may need executive session as well.
Right, and my comment
read
was, do we need to amend the agenda if we already say we might need executive session?
No.
No, not if you, but I don't know that you're going to do it there. You have another reason for having executive session.
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay, so let's just add executive session.
Okay, then we'll add it under, at number between 10 and 11.
Right.
Okay, so the motion is would accept the motion should be to accept the agenda as updated to include executive session. Is that okay with everybody?
So moved.
Okay. All right.
Can I ask, is the executive session just has to do with highway, or what does the executive session have to do
It has
with?
to do with the coronavirus situation.
But that doesn't fall under executive session, though, does it?
Well, it's a personnel issue.
There's
Okay,
a
if it's
personnel
personnel.
issue
Okay.
besides the highway. It's more general than highway in town. It's the same type of issue. It's working that's not essential, but it's a more general issue than that.
Okay. All right. So all in favor, say aye.
Wait a minute a second. So, okay, so I got John, you're the one that finally moved it this time, but Kathy was the first time. And who was seconded?
I did this time.
Okay, all right.
Okay. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Okay. Kim, since the TV wants to be updated on what happened at the BCA meeting, will you just give a fill-in of what we did and what happened?
Okay, do you want to do that when I come up under number 4?
No, he wanted to do it right away is what I was instructed to say. Just the result of it.
All right, I'll do it now then. The result of the Board of Abatement meeting that was held today at 2:30 on April the 6th was to waive interest rate of 1.5% and the 1% for the months of March and April due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and it was per request of the current tax collector. All were in favor of it.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so let's do the first minutes, which is the March 16th. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes of March 16th?
I have one.
Okay,
On the second page, at the very top, the first bullet point, last line in that bullet point, we're talking about the emerald ash borer. We're talking, and that has elm trees. It should be ash trees, I believe.
I don't know what bullet point are you talking about?
The second page, or the third page, actually.
Okay,
Third page,
Oh, okay.
first
Okay.
paragraph at the top, it goes into elm trees. I think we were talking about elm trees.
I had elm trees on my mind. We'll see. Okay,
are there any other additions or corrections for the minutes of March 16th?
Yeah, misspelled my name again.
Alan, how come?
I don't know. Pretty straightforward.
whereabouts, Al?
Where did I see it?
It's okay on the,
Okay, under 8.
oh yeah, it's sand. Okay. All right, I'll see it. Are there any other additions or corrections? If not, can we have a motion to accept the minutes as corrected?
So moved.
So move.
Okay, so who was the second?
I can second it.
Oh, okay. You got that, Bill?
I got,
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, the next set of minutes is the emergency meeting on March 25th that we attended by electronic devices. Do we have any additions or corrections to those?
Was it the? Oh,
Excuse me?
was it the
25th.
25th or the, oh, okay, 25th.
No, the 25th. That was a 9 o'clock meeting.
I have two. On the second paragraph,
Which page, Stan?
pardon?
Which page?
First page, second
Okay.
paragraph, at the stay-at-home order, agreement on essential and non-essential. That probably should be employees, because it's essential and non-essential of what?
okay,
There, and then I'm trying to remember the chain of events here, but I wrote down in the very last page that John had canceled his request for executive session. So somewhere in the minutes, it probably says going to go into executive session.
Yeah,
Yeah.
John did that.
yeah, we added executive session under number 1, so, and then I'll just put canceled,
Yes, that's fine.
executive session canceled, okay.
Do we have any others? How about you, Al? You normally have some.
No,
Okay,
good.
You did not mention the fact I got your name right every time on this.
so, okay,
Like
so
both-
a motion to accept the minutes of March 25th as amended.
So move.
Second.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
Yeah.
Second.
Oh, okay. All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that's done. And the last one now, the Thursday, 3 PM, March 26th, also by electronic. Do we have any additions or corrections to those minutes?
I do.
Okay,
Under number 8, and you have, the SH 122, which otherwise would have to be filed by April 1st, that's April 15th. That's typically when your income tax are due.
okay,
And then number 9, you have the fee is, and it should be $9 for spayed and neuter dogs, and it's $11 for otherwise.
okay. Do we have any other additions or corrections?
I have one.
Okay,
I think if I remember right, Ivor Stevens was out in the lobby on that front computer. I don't see his name listed.
he was.
On this meeting too, or on the other meeting? He was on the other meeting.
Well, maybe I'm looking at the wrong one.
Yeah.
I don't think he was at this meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't think anybody was out there. Wait a second. I have him on the other meeting, right?
You do.
No,
Okay.
you're right. There was nobody
I
there.
have the Meeting. I'll retract my repair.
Okay. Do we have any other additions or corrections? Okay, so if not, a motion to accept minutes as amended.
So moved.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay. All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, so we're done with the minutes. All righty.
Joe,
Yes.
I found something on the minutes of the 16th and thought I had highlighted it in yellow, and that's why I couldn't find it when we were there. So can we please return to the 16th?
Okay, yep, okay.
Okay, under paving discussions,
What pages are you, where,
on first
Oh, paving
page,
discussion, okay.
highway report.
Yep.
Under paving discussion. Estimate was about $240. I think there's some
240,000.
zeros.
60,000.
That's a pretty good deal.
There's some zeros missing.
Yeah.
Okay, is that it, Alan?
Well, then the next question is, the word bull magging, I think is supposed to be bow magging.
Yeah, it is. We don't have animals here.
How do you spell that?
I don't know.
Go with BO.
Probably Bomagging, BO, right?
Right, that's right.
Okay.
And it's again, it shows up again
Yeah.
down under the second bullet, Cabell Road.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we'll make those corrections. Thank you, Alan.
Yeah.
Okay, so I see Danny, did you just arrive?
Yeah, I had to reload it into my phone because it did an update and took the
That's
app
okay.
away.
We were ready to go to highway and I did not see you on the list. Okay, so the first thing on the highway report is the essential and non-essential highway work. Do we want to discuss this in open session or is this an executive session situation?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Can I raise a question?
Sure.
So we've already, one time at our emergency meeting, we established essential and non-essential. So we've already been through this once. If we need to discuss it again, then I must assume something has changed since then to require us to revisit it, and could we be updated on what that is?
Okay, Dan, you want me to do it?
Sure.
Okay, the update on that is that we wanted to know what precipitated it was we wanted to know if we could do our work on the, well, we found out that V-Trans was not working at all because that's not essential. You know, the highway work, they're working, but not doing their normal work, normal highway work. And so they don't consider the ordinary work. They consider snow plowing and stuff like that would be essential, but not what they're doing, what they would do every day. And then we asked Better Back Roads if we could do the work on the stone lining and ditches and get reimbursed under the grant. And they said you cannot do it under the governor's orders. You cannot, and under V-Trans interpretation, we cannot do any non-essential work in which the stone lining and ditches would be considered. And if we did it, we can do it. They can't stop us from doing it, but if we did it, we're not going to get paid for it. We're not going to get paid under the grant. They were really, then I went around with them, but then they were really strict and they sent me the guidance, which I think I sent out to everybody, but it was just a phrase on the fact that they're not going to pay for it at all if we do it during that time. So that made me think, are we not obeying the governor's orders by having our guys working. And I just wanted to be clear on it. I haven't been able to talk to the town attorney on it. I've asked him a couple times. He hasn't gotten back to me actually on it, but it was mixed in with a bunch of other stuff, so he may have missed it or forgot about it. And I haven't called him just specifically on that. I just wanted to be sure that we're not opening up ourselves up to a potential big liability for allowing the guys want to work and we're allowing them to work, but is that the proper thing for the town to do? And I don't know if on the MuniNet, and Kim can probably saw those messages as much as I did. On MuniNet, they were asked, "What your highways doing?" And the highways people were doing anything from what we're doing to even less. In some of the big departments, they're every other day they work, every other day they're off. They just work on equipment. They all work alone. They work separately. They don't not doing other stuff. So it's everywhere on the board as far as the other towns are doing it. And I don't know if that's changed because I haven't seen anything more recently on the MuniNet. Have you, Kim, other than that first one?
I haven't. Danny probably's been more in touch with some of the other towns as to what they're doing.
Well, I've just been reading like Stu Johnson's from Better and stuff like that online, and I don't see where they're saying not to work. They're just saying you can't do certain things and try not to do unnecessary work. So, you know, and keep your distance, and that's what we're doing. I don't know of any town around that has sent their guys home yet. They're all the towns around us are still working.
Yeah, I think our road situation is certainly different than what state DOT is looking at. I mean,
And they mentioned that.
just the state DOT, I mean, they're looking at really nice roads, either asphalt or concrete or whatever their roads might be, the highways. And when we're talking about the very high percentage of dirt roads that have to be maintained, I just think we're talking a different situation here than what the state themselves might be looking at.
Yeah,
That's one of the things that was sent out. That was exactly what Stu Johnson, that is basically state employee, sent out, that municipalities are a lot different than the state, just us coming out of mud season and everything. The state don't have dirt roads. They have a few way up north, but around here they don't. So that's what was said. They just commented that, you know, try not to do a lot of like shop work. Don't try to doing stuff where you're close contacts. So that's what we're doing. You know, right now we've been ditching. Mike and David went ditching. So one's in the excavator, one's in a truck, and I went grading today. So, you know, we're staying away from each other as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, some of the dirt roads are in poor shape. They need to be graded when, once the weather breaks.
So there are things that we don't want to do right now because we would not get reimbursed later. So we have to pick and choose, and I trust Danny's going to use good judgment to pick the things that need to be done that are not going to be in jeopardy of not being reimbursed. So it's just good management.
Yeah, we're
But
not doing any of the grant stuff. We're staying away from them locations and wait until we're able to do that again.
correct.
Are you guys happy with working individually? Like, I mean, is there any issues?
No. All the other two guys are both in agreement with me. We want to stay working and not get way behind, you know, not knowing how long this is going to go on for. There's a lot of ditching to be done, a lot more to be done. And, you know, we're grading a lot of the roads, and it's going to take a few times around just to get them back in the shape.
Yeah, I think we got to stay the course what we originally thought. I think that just because of such varying conditions in the town as opposed to the state, I think we're doing what we should.
I agree with Stan. I think you have to, unless the employees don't want.
I make a motion, we continue as we agreed at our emergency meeting.
And maybe somewhere in there, Alan, I don't know sure if it's worthwhile at this point, but we should agree about the granted projects that they'll be put off at some time.
Wow. Yeah.
As far as doing any construction work on it.
Yeah.
We don't have it, we don't have any choice. I mean,
Article.
we don't have any choice. They're not gonna pay us for it if we get it. If we
Right.
do the grant work, they're not paying.
We can
But
only do the
we can add
paperwork
there
into it.
and no grant work to be done until it's allowed by V-Trans.
Okay, do we have a second to that?
What was that? Just what was that? Did that get added to Al's motion or?
Yeah,
I think so. I think
You
that's
good
what
with
Bill
it, Al?
said, he added to the motion.
Sure, add that to the motion.
Okay,
So we have a second?
second.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor of Alan's motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, all right. I understand there's no weight permits, is that correct, Bill?
I don't have any, correct?
Okay. And what about, and the culvert, we can't even begin to do the culvert, can we?
We can take the bids and everything on it. They just can't work on it.
Okay.
And Danny, you talk about it for a minute about going forward with it.
Yeah, I mean, some of the contractors I talked to one last week and told them what the deal was with it, and they were fine with it. So we can still keep going forward with it and do the whole bid process. They just can't do any work until this stay-at-home thing is lifted for them. But we can do all the paperwork end of it still.
That worked.
Okay,
Yeah, and-
everybody agree, everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and the people who've done them before, I was worried about them maybe being a little bit confused, contractors being confused. The people I've talked to that have done it before, they fully understand. They fully understand exactly what is meant by everything. We sent all the instructions. We sent 3 different emails from myself and from Scott Jensen explaining any details of anything anybody brought up. So if anybody brought up anything, like Jamie asked a question, I sent that to Scott Jensen. I sent the question and the answer out to all the contractors. I've had no complaints from any of them.
Okay,
So I think we should go ahead with the bid, and they have to have the bids in by the 16th, and you open them on the 20th.
You want a motion for that, Joe?
I don't think we need one.
No.
No, but Danny, do you have anything else you want to discuss now?
No, I'm good with everything.
Joe, can I interrupt a second?
Sure.
I have somebody with the initial M. Who is that?
Is it Michelle, maybe?
Oh, it is Michelle, probably Michelle. That you, Michelle?
Yeah, it's me. I'm just muted and I don't have the camera on.
That's okay, good. And,
Okay.
and JW, is that Joe or Jess?
Not me.
No, Joe or
No.
Jess West Clark?
That's Joe.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, so if we have nothing else, Danny, or we can move on to the next item. If not, you're all happy?
Yeah, all set.
Okay. All right, number 4, clerk treasurer report. So ahead, Kim, you're on now.
I really don't have a whole lot. I sent out the expenditure report and the balance sheets to all the select board. I'm assuming you all got them. I thought this was a good time, even though it's not a quarterly, during this crisis, to show you where we are as in expenses and our balance. And I think everything looks okay, but do you guys have any questions?
No, my only concern is though that at some point in time, if the tax money doesn't come in, then we might have to go and use some reserve.
Right, yeah. I don't know if we'd have to use some reserve. Don't forget, we have unanticipated funds that are sitting there also for
That's what I
that
mean.
reason.
Those funds, that's what I meant.
Yeah. We should be okay, but if you had any questions on any of the expenses, just let me know and I'll see what I can find for you. The balance sheet was out there. The only other thing I wanted to bring up was I sent out Jack Breyer's email. Bill and I were talking this morning. I'm not really sure where we stand on the school. The meeting was supposed to be the 9th. I'm assuming that that's not happening and they're asking for, first it was canceled, then postponement. You read as much as I did. I hear one story from Jack, then I hear from Allie from Westminster, and then I read the emails. I'm totally confused too. I know at one point he wanted to go forward with an Australian ballot vote in 40 days. I'm not in favor of that, and I don't believe Westminster's in favor of it. Their expense is very high for that, and the exposure, I don't think we're going to be out of the woods yet to have people streaming through our office from 7 to 7 at night for Australian ballot, and I don't think we're going to get the people. So maybe I was hoping maybe Jessa would be on, but I'm not sure if she is or not. If maybe she can fill us in on anything more.
I don't see her here. I don't think she's on.
I know.
She's working on it. She'll connect.
Oh,
here.
okay. Oh, great.
Isn't there a meeting today at 5 or 5:30?
There is, yes, as far as I know, but she'll tell you for sure.
And I believe Jack was supposed to be having a meeting with Ally. Jack had a call on Friday with Ally from Westminster along with Russ Hodgkins. And so my conversation was with Ally after they had their conversation, and then the email came later. So that's where I'm saying I'm like totally confused.
I think the whole thing is confusing.
It is. I mean, I don't know as if we have any say. I don't think the select board has a say whether or not we can have an Australian ballot vote. I'm not in favor of sitting here, and I can't ask somebody to sit here. We're not a tabulated town, so we don't have a tabulator that's going to give us the totals. We're a hand count town, so how do I have everybody organized for hand counting, and who wants to hand count, and who wants to even come in and vote?
No, I agree.
You know, and I don't know which way he'd like to see the Australian ballot go, but I don't believe anybody's would probably be in favor, not even knowing what's going on with the budget.
Could we draft a letter of our concerns, or particularly your concerns as the person that would run a vote if it was to happen? Can we draft a letter to that effect, send it to the select or to the school directors, as well as to the legal beagles in Montpelier?
Well, from what I read, it sounds as though Will Senning already pretty much said that we wouldn't be holding an Australian ballot vote. So is Jessa on yet?
I am.
Can you enlighten us on what's going on by any chance?
Well, I'm trying to dig up Jack's email. Let's see. I think the general consensus is we're just going to try to cancel it.
Okay.
Tonight we have a school board meeting at 6:30. Just going through looking for my trashed mail here. There it is. It looks like everybody's hoping that tonight at our school board meeting, we will vote to cancel and reschedule the meeting for the 9th. Because, let's see. Yeah, we could replace it with Australian ballot, but that whole thing hasn't really been figured out yet. That's what Kim was talking about. Even mail-in ballots still have to be counted by somebody. And that's why I think they're going to try, it looks like tonight they're going to try to cancel the 9th meeting and schedule it for like 2 months out. Budgets for the 2021 fiscal year, according to the state, are going to be a mess anyway. We don't know if the funding we're expecting from the state is going to be there. So that's where we're at. You're welcome to attend our meeting at 6:30.
Are you doing your meetings by Zoom or by Microsoft Team or?
They're Zoom.
Yeah.
They're Zoom.
And actually the join information is on the SU website.
Okay.
I can probably forward the invite too.
So you think they're looking at maybe going out 2 months before having any kind of a vote?
That was just sort of what was proposed, because we're one of the only places in the state that doesn't have a budget already approved. So Jack Breyer and Lynn Morgan and the superintendent, they've talked to the Secretary of State's office and they've talked to the AOE, trying to figure out what to do.
So
I
and that's
thought
what
I thought I read there were 18 towns that don't have a budget.
There might be, but out of 180 or something, it's really not many. And we're also in the unique position of being, we're still that forcibly merged, yet still transitional, which should affect the 30 towns in the lawsuit, but we don't know how any of this is going to really sort out.
Well, in worst case scenario, Jessica, can't we, if we cancel it all, can we cancel it all together and not have it and then just revert back to last year's budget like you would when any town that a budget got voted down?
I don't, let's see, did we have fiscal year? I don't know, because of the forced merge nature of the district, if that budget was, I guess that budget was for the merged district.
It was for the merge.
Yeah, so they could,
on
I
the
think the
floor.
town, I think they drop you down to, what is it, 80% or something like that. So that is possible, and that might be what they're planning on.
I
think they could
because
drop it to 87%.
Okay. And that would probably be if we go out any further, because after the budget is voted, even if it's approved, it can't be recorded as approved with the state for 30 days, I think, in case it's challenged. Is that right, Kim?
Yep.
And then we have to wait. It takes a while after that before we actually get our money from the state. That's why we had to do that like bridge loan last year, because there is a delay. So that's entirely possible. I'm not sure. But that looks like what they're proposing tonight is that we cancel the meeting and reschedule it for 1.5 to 2 months out.
So the budget was apparently going to go down probably from last year's budget, and by what percentage would we be looking at? Because if they're only going to take 87% of last year's, but we were going to drop anyways, would we be close to what you were hoping
No.
for? No. Okay.
No.
Okay.
You would still be, you'd be way under what they're offering,
The 87% of last year is significantly less than the proposed budget for next
That is
year.
correct. The 87% is if no budget is approved, that's what
Right.
the state law
Right.
mandates that it can go down
Right.
to.
Yeah, exactly. Then I had another question. So even if we do postpone this for another 2 months, we're probably looking at not having a budget for the tax period come June 30th when we need a tax rate, and we're probably gonna have to do a supplement bill or move our tax payment further out than August.
That is a possibility. I think all that's going to be discussed tonight. I think there's a bunch of scenarios, because it does look like the legislature has given the boards, the municipalities and school boards, authority to change to Australian ballot any of their scheduled votes.
Right.
But the process for Australian ballot and whether or not town clerks are even willing to count random ballots that come in the mail that haven't been sanitized, and who's going to mail them out. A lot of employees are not working, and none of that has been sorted out yet. So I think we don't have all the answers yet. I'm hoping that Larry Slayson might weigh in tonight, and the superintendent and whoever else has been working on it, because I really don't know. This is sort of a unusual year.
Okay. Okay.
Kim, would you like the select board to send Jessa, recommendation by motion from the select board as to the yay or nay on the Australian ballot issue?
I mean, I don't feel comfortable doing one, but again, they don't know what length of time you're looking at either, and where are we going to be in this whole process and this whole crisis.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know what to want to say.
Why
If it's
can't we-
next week, no way, that type of thing. But if it's 3 months away,
Well, why can't we say something to the effect that as long as the situation exists, we're not in favor of Australian ballots?
I think that would be fine if you wanted to put something to that effect in email. You can send it to the board and the superintendent. That would be perfectly fine with me.
Jessa,
Who's gonna sit there, sit in a gymnasium with all this paperwork under the conditions that we have now, it's in close proximity? I mean, that's kind of nuts, I think.
well, even if you did an Australian ballot, say 2 months out, and our stay home, stay safe is lifted, you're still not supposed to emerge right back into everyday life and start having these gatherings again. So when
Right.
is it safe? And nobody knows, and that's what bothers me.
Yeah, and I think the current directive we have is that you can't, I don't think we can host anybody outside function in the schools.
Why don't you have it in the parking lot, high school?
So maybe like a drive-through
Everybody's
vote.
6 feet apart. That'd be interesting.
But
Yeah, so I think it will carry weight if especially the administration and the town clerk just sends a little note saying that you're really not comfortable with scheduling an Australian ballot right now due to the uncertainty.
Definitely
Jessa.
not right now, for sure.
Yeah.
Jessa, not to be disrespectful to you and your position, but appreciating the difficulty of how we are currently organized or unorganized, would it carry even more weight if the message that you just mentioned came and was represented by our town attorney, Larry Slayson?
He's their attorney. That's a problem. He's their
Yeah,
attorney.
also
he's
one of
their
our
attorney
attorneys.
too.
It's a school attorney.
Well,
But if it's, I mean, it's kind of an unofficial message. It's not like you can give us a directive. So I think as it comes through as this is our position on it, I think it's acceptable to go through whatever channels you would like.
But if you send it through the town clerk and the select board, that sends a message. I mean, that's your town government plus the treasurer.
I understand. I asked the question if it would carry more weight if it came from the town attorney.
Yeah,
Can I speak as a recovering attorney? If I'm him, I would not carry anything to that meeting from us. He
Right.
represents both parties.
Right. I think it just send it
I think
from-
it will actually carry plenty of weight, I think, coming from you guys or even just from Kim, because she's sort of the one that would have to deal with the Australian ballot.
Yeah, but
I'm
that's
not
not
pushing
that's
for
not
that. I just raised the question.
Yeah.
Well, I think the other thing is we're the ones that have to pay for it. You're the ones that have to pay for it too. It's a
Yeah, and there
combination of those two things.
was talk of, because I think this is not the first time that towns have incurred expense due to the school board moving things. And I think that issue has been raised possibly by Westminster, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I sent an invoice that was ignored, and Westminster sent their invoice and it's been ignored, and now they're talking about the cost of having another vote, and they're tabulated, so they're much more expensive.
Mhm.
So should I don't know if I can attend the meeting, but how do you want me to do this? Just
I would either you or Bill email it. And the WNESU website has the superintendent's email address and all of the board members. If you go to the board's link.
okay.
I mean, certainly anybody can voice their opinion if they want to send a separate message, either personally or as a functionary, whichever.
Okay, well, maybe I'll work with you, Bill, and get the wording out at some point here today.
Okay, and as long as we get agreement from the select board to support whatever we come up with. It'll
It's
be
just our
along
meeting
the
is at
lines of what you
6:30,
said.
so
Yeah.
Right.
if you want to make sure it's read at the meeting, if you could get it in the next 2 hours.
We'll do it right away.
Okay. Yeah,
So
thank you.
who wants to make a motion?
I make a
So
motion that we'll ask Kim to write her concerns and that we email those concerns to the appropriate people at the SU and board members.
But it also from Kim and the select board, correct?
Right, yeah. I'd like the support. Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Okay, second to that one?
I'll second it.
Okay. I guess we had enough discussion, but do we have any more? So if you're not, all in favor, say aye.
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 Against, opposed? None, okay. All right, Kim and Bill, you'll have to work on the language, I guess, and try to get it out within the next couple of hours. Is that possible?
I don't know, Bill. He's pretty good at the wording part. Remember, he's the retired,
Recovering attorney.
attorney.
We can get it done, yeah.
Well, thank you, Jessica.
Yeah, thank you for all you guys are doing.
Yeah, Dan, thank you. And honestly, whatever we'll support you guys as well, because we're just in this really strange, uncharted area. And our positions, we're still a transitional board, essentially on the authority of the legislature, because we haven't even had local elections because we don't have a process for that yet. And on the 9th, we were actually going to ask people to sort of confirm our positions as a transitional board. So we had some sort of affirmation from the constituents that they're okay with us in the government. And we can't do that right now either. So thank you.
All right.
All righty. The next item is 5, is the coronavirus. What's that situation, Bill, that you have it on, Jenna?
Oh, yeah, I had it on there in just in case it was all this type of stuff anyway that's come up. And just to let you know that, let everybody know that that we have the emergency management meeting every morning at 8:30 where we discuss the issues that have risen. We go over the situation report from the SEOC, the health department report. I have Keith from Rescue, the fire chief, Chris Wallace, and Liz from the school. Then Al's there, Kim's there, John's there, Stan's there for representing the CARES and the men's group at the church. And so we're trying to make sure that everybody that is a shut-in, or even if it's a couple at home that can't get out or are afraid to go out to shop because of their age, that they're taken care of. Somebody's running errands for them, that the food gets out to them, and that no one is, we're not completely cutting off somebody from any assistance because they're not aware who's out here there can help them. And the church has done a great outreach on that and got that done. I try to listen to all the governor's reports and those things and get that stuff back to you. With regard to that, the counts that are going on the borders is to for them to know how many people from out of state are in the town, get an estimate of how many people from out of state are in the state, because they need to keep track of that for the purpose of projecting how many hospital beds they need because they have to count our population, including all the non-residents who are here. So they're trying to get a handle on that. They're trying to keep a handle on that. With that said, they have way more beds. They have some emergency beds now. All the hospitals have 533 beds, but there's over 650 beds between that and the military and the new beds that they have in. And so they don't project that the hospitals will even be full. And they don't project they have a shortage of any PPE or anything. And if towns are having that problem, they can get the supplies. The emergency management service can get supplies from VEM. All that said, the actual, I heard this thing and Kim heard it too, and I almost fell over. They're expecting 100 to 200 deaths actual. However, the potential from the beginning, not looking at the data and not not taking into account all the stuff that the people of the state of Vermont are doing by staying home and staying separate and so on, all this stuff we've been talking about with the meetings at school district. If they weren't doing all that, we'd lose between 2,000 and 4,200 people instead of 100 to 200. Easily, they said, and I don't know where this number came with those numbers, but easily we're saving 1,700 lives by what we're doing. So that's where it is. If you looked at, I sent those charts out before. If you looked at them, you can see that we're way below, according to that projection from the University of Washington, we're way below the projection. But what the Dr. Levine said this morning kind of scared me. So that's one of the reasons I wrote that thing saying, everybody, we got to keep doing this separation and stay away from one another and so on. We just got to keep doing it until the thing goes away. And I think that's about it, Joe. I don't think I had anything else on that.
Bill, were you able to check out what Keith was saying about Landmark College no longer doing testing because they ran out of kits?
Yes, in the situation report, you can find that in there. I didn't see it until after, and I meant to send something out. I meant to mention that later. They are moving those assets elsewhere. Why? And probably because there aren't that many cases in turning up in Wyndham. So I don't know, they may have moved it over to Bennington. I'm not sure where, but they have moved those assets elsewhere. That's all it says. Under one of those things under, it could be under Health Department, in the sit rep from this morning, talks about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
And I also asked Ben Rose for some help, and I maybe what they sent out with regard to nonprofits and the town and so on, keeping track of our expenditures from the coronavirus issue, from the emergency issue. Kim's keeping track of those, and that we have. There aren't very many right now. There isn't very much right now, and Keith is keeping track of that for rescue. And so everybody's aware that I know of. The church, Stan, the church should be aware that whoever, if you know people on the board, maybe talk to Bill Watson or somebody, make sure that they're following up on that, because they can get online. I sent 2 emails out today to several people, and it gives you the information on how to get online and figure out the portal for nonprofit corporations. So you're talking about charitable institutions that are doing stuff, how they can get reimbursed. And I don't know to the extent you can get reimbursed, but CARES and the church could take advantage of that, or at least it should try to find out what they can get help with.
Okay, yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Anything else on the virus?
Did you want to mention anything about the burn ban bill that was kind of crept up during the conversation this morning?
Yeah, Al did a good job following up on that with the fire warden. There'll be no burning. I printed those things out and then I didn't post them. Anyway, there'll be no burning till further notice. And the reason for it is so that we lessen the potential for emergency services calls during this crisis, so that they're not going out checking a burn pile when they don't have to. So we're just people should just stop burning and be patient for later on.
Bill,
So
Bill, may I ask a question? Is it okay for public to ask a question about that?
Sure.
So does that mean burning outside in like an outdoor, like stone or cinder block fireplace as well? I'm assuming it does, or no?
Well, if it doesn't outlaw, it never has been illegal for you to burn in a fire pit. you know, a regular
Yeah.
established fire pit, and that, like doing camp out or, you know, singing around, sitting around singing Kumbaya in front of the fire, you can do that. You can do that type of thing. Yes.
Okay,
But,
I'm not asking actually for me. I'm actually, you know, we have a lot of second homeowners and folks
Yep.
who are up on Hinkley Brook Road, and I saw my neighbor burning in his outdoor fireplace. He had quite the bonfire going there. He probably doesn't have any idea about regulations for fire permits.
Yeah. He's not-
But it's not a big field burn. It's just in his fireplace outside.
Yeah, no, they said that that's okay.
That's okay.
Uh,
Okay, great.
In Chester, they didn't do it. Bill Brown didn't put out a thing here, but in Chester, for instance, they asked people to call them and let them know they're going to have it, so they don't go and check on a
Right.
neighbor spotted fire for no reason. So,
But we don't have that here. Okay,
yeah.
thanks.
Anything else? If not, we'll move on to the purchasing policy. Does everybody have copies of the models and the procurement policy and all the rest of the stuff?
Oh, I figured it'd be placed on my desk by the town administrator.
It would be what?
Placed on my desk by the town administrator.
I didn't walk around to your house and do it. I did send it to you again this afternoon.
Well, I didn't look this up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so how do we want to proceed with this?
Well, can I give you what I think you should do?
Yeah, why not?
I think you should appoint or see who wants to do it from the select board to go over it carefully and discuss it carefully, and then come back to you with a recommendation. That's what I think you should do. Because it's really complicated, and it's complicated in that. So what I'd like you guys to discuss, if nothing else today, is just what are those limits? What are the questions about the limits that I proposed? And what would you like to see as limits? And then maybe assign it to somebody if you feel that you would like more discussion, or you have questions you'd like people to look for the answers to.
Stan, how do you feel about that? Because I know you and I, well, you more than me, are always concerned about bidding and not bidding and whatever.
I mean, I looked at it, but I can't say as though I studied it extensively. I'd have to go back through it. I saw the different numbers and things like that, but I can't right off the top of my head remember much about it. So I'd have to go back through and then.
Well, what Bill has here is that for major purchases between 5 and 20,000, you got to have at least 2 qualified vendors. And large purchases of greater than 20,000 must follow by a sealed bid process. And then he goes on to make a recommendation that purchases at or exceeding 20,000, construction projects of any value, have to be funded by federal government, have to be a sealed bid. I mean, that was what.
Yeah, that isn't to go on. That is all part of it. It's what you have without the federal government is one thing. With the federal government, you can use that 20,000 for everything. But if it is a construction project, anything over 2,000 has to go to sealed bid.
Right.
Has to go through the whole process.
Their recommendation was that any employee cannot purchase anything that is over $2,000. And minor purchases, employees who have been designated to act as purchase agents may make purchases with a value between $2,000 and $5,000 only with approval of the select board. Those were those were some of the recommendations Bill made.
Yeah.
If that's already included as a budget item, though, that's already been essentially approved, right? Is that what you're saying? Because there are things in there that's, already in the budget that they're just purchasing for over $2,000.
One second.
Been approved.
Wait, just one second.
You know, just saying something crops up, that's not necessarily a budget item, then yeah, then we should. But if it's already budgeted, I don't see the problem.
Okay, yeah, as long as those purchase $2,000 without approval, without separate approval again, without prior approval, provided those purchases are limited to the amount of the budget authorized by the town. Okay, that's the $2,000 limit.
Right.
The $2,000 to $5,000 limit is only with prior approval of the select board and are limited to the amount of budget authorized by the town. Although not required, competitive quotes from at least 2 vendors should be obtained whenever possible.
Okay,
So that's your 5,000.
Up into that bracket, we should get a competitive bid, even if it's a budgeted item.
Well, not bid, proposal. And I'm using that precisely because if we go to bid, now we're talking about, you know, putting in the newspaper, et cetera, et cetera.
That's fine. Yep.
Yeah. And then up to $20,000. So then it goes to the federal, but well, for major purposes, between 5 and 20. Now, what they use is 150, but between 5, what I have here is between 5 and 20. 2 qualified vendors. Let's see, quotations shall be obtained from at least 2 qualified vendors to ensure that the town has received a fair and reasonable price. Vendors will be selected based on cost, the quality of the goods and services offered, and the ability, capability, and skill of the vendor demonstrated under prior contracts with the town. I like that paragraph. That's the way it was written, basically. I like that paragraph because it allows us to choose people. I know it doesn't really apply here, but for instance, we're talking about buying a truck, and the only place you can get it serviced is in Milford. Well, that's a long way to go. You know, so it's the same type of thing. You're looking for people who are local. You can select people based on them being local as well as on the price and the qualification of the person you're buying the service from. So I think that's a good thing.
What did you want to accomplish today? Just a discussion, and then we could narrow this thing down and bring it back to another meeting for.
That's correct. Yeah. I just wanted to see if you guys like the numbers, because lots of times we were stuck on anything like 5,000, we got to go to bid. Well, it costs a lot of money to go to bid, and if it's in the budget anyway, and we're getting at least from 2. With the federal government, you got to either go to bid or you have to go to 3 probably in here. I don't remember now, but FEMA requires that you get 3 proposals over 5,000. Anything over 5,000, you need 3 proposals. So that's what we always got at in Irene. But not that you had.
Maybe the other thing that might work is we may need a definition of proposal as opposed to a definition of bid.
Well, we do. It's a quotation, just a quotation from. They give you a thing.
Yep, I'm fine bringing it back up at another time for discussion.
But do you like the numbers? That's the main thing.
Yeah, I think they work.
Well, I think they work for me, but, you know, that's just my opinion.
Anybody else, Al or Kathy or
No,
John?
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it's all right with me.
Yeah, I think as long as we're keeping our budgets intact and not going over, that's fine.
Okay, and one of the reasons I like it, it gives us a little more freedom with the things. And again, going out, if I can get it into the Grafton News, if you know, and we can do a lot in the Grafton News, she won't let me pay for an ad there. So I try to make it a small ad, but I mean, she's really good about it, Wendy is. But if we have to go anywhere else, then then it costs between $200 and $300 every time you do that. And for a small item, it just isn't worth it. Okay, I'll work on these figures some more. And then if you go over it again, look at my comments and then just see if anything else. For instance, I think, Stan, when you read through it, that what we mean by proposal and quote is clear. But if it isn't clear, we'll make it clear. Okay, you see if it's clear to you.
Yep,
Okay.
okay.
Anything else on that?
So everybody take a look at the thing and we'll put it on the agenda again for the next meeting. How's that?
Okay.
Hey, Joe, you're talking about the model one.
Yes.
Not the one that we have now. You're
Correct.
talking
It's the one that Bill has not the one from VLCT, but the one that there's no way it just says purchasing policy town of Grafton. It's the.
Well, it starts, the first page says VLCT policies. The
Yeah.
very first page, but then you go through it. Then on page 5, it begins.
Yeah.
Purchasing policies. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, John, you know which one? It's the one I
Okay.
sent today too.
Huh?
It's the one I sent this afternoon with the agenda and the minutes.
Yep.
Okay. The next item is the Village Park work in the Forester. Alan, you want to explain that because this was.
Yep.
Directed from you.
I will. Just want to keep you folks in the loop. There's been some development since the last time we talked. Some of you were not on the board when we did the walk in the park and look at hazard trees, and several of us were on. If you remember at that time, those that were there was a discussion that took place, and there was an individual from town that was very concerned, expressed his concern, and that probably was what generated some signs against me, but it generated a phone call to Hayden Lake that Hayden was very upset by the phone call and the things that were directed at him from that individual. When it got time that things were starting to develop, Hayden got thinking about it more and decided that he did not want to be our forester to carry on the work in the village park. So as I was discussing with him, he suggested a couple other names. One of the other names is a fellow named Tim Morton, a fellow I worked with out of the Springfield office. His title is a state lands forester, but at the bottom of his job description, there's a little thing that says other duties as assigned, which includes working with municipalities in municipal forests. So if we are to work with Tim, he does the same sort of work for us that Hayden would have done without a charge to the town. His pay comes from a state of Vermont, from our taxes, general taxes. So I talked with Tim to see if he'd be interested to do it. He said he would. He was familiar with the project. And I described to him what we were talking about doing. He thought that sounded like an interesting project. He would like to participate. He asked that even though it's in his job description, he would like a kind of a written request from us to document why he's working in the town of Grafton. So there was a letter. Bill, did you email that letter to everybody?
I thought I did.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So the letter has not been signed and sent out yet. but it's crafted so you can look at it and say, sure, that makes sense, go ahead. If we agree to that, that letter will get sent out. He can't do anything until April 15th when they hopefully raise the restriction for them to be doing work on the ground. I'd like to have this in place now so that as soon as he is allowed to participate and go in the field, he and I will go in the field and lay things out that we talked about at our, I guess it was our last meeting. Go look at those ash trees that we talked about that right now are dollars standing there. Later, after they die from emerald ash borer, they'll cost us money to get rid of. But we get it all laid out, then I would ask for the select board and publics that are interested to actually go and look at the work as it's laid out. And once we do that, then we'll put it out to bid. It will require some sort of special equipment, but that's where we're at. So if you guys are comfortable having somebody do the work for free, we should agree with that letter to Tim. I've worked with Tim. His quality of work is very good. His follow through is good. He's well respected by people in the forestry community at this end of the state. So, what I have.
Somebody want to make a motion that we accept that we send out, sign the letter and send it out?
So move.
I'll make the motion.
Kathy moved.
Kathy made the motion. Do we need a second?
Second it.
Okay, John seconded it. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of sending the letter out to Tim Morton, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. So, Bill, we do the letter on stationery, and then I'll make availability to sign it or whatever.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. The next item is the need to acquire future cemetery land. I don't know who put that on there, so whoever did, do you want to address it?
Kim? Oh, Kim's not on. Okay, I'll address it. We are 100 graves. We have about 100 graves left. Many of those are in places that we're probably never going to use. Oh, you're on, Kim, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
she's back on.
I have brought it up in the last, a couple years ago, and speaking with Don, our cemetery agent, that we're going to be in need in years to come of cemeteries, a cemetery somewhere. Right now, talking with Don over the last couple of deaths that we've had, we did bring up the subject that we only have about 100 sites left available in the whole town. And some of those are not very desirable. They're over the bank, they're in wetlands areas of some of the older cemeteries. Again, it's just like the ancient road, they gave us 5 years and it crept up, and then all of a sudden we were cramming it the last year to finalize our ancient roads. Well, this is going to end up happening the same thing. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe we can kind of put it back, just like the gravel. We need to move forward and really seriously consider finding a location, hopefully a donated location, purchasing some sort of a location for a cemetery. And I did have someone approach me just as curiosity as to where do we stand with this pandemic, and what if we have a big influence of deaths? Do we have enough space? I don't anticipate that happening.
Stan and I talked to Don about this a couple of months back, and he had a location that he thought on a Townsend Road. Stan looked at it, I looked at it, and Don did not think that was suitable. I asked Dick DeRocher if he wanted to donate he has a nice little 1 acre lot up there right on Middletown Road, and he said no, because his land is in some kind of a trust and he can't do anything. And Tanya Evans had made an overture that she would donate I guess it's about I don't know if it's quite a 1 acre piece, but behind, not her house, but her office house on the other side, and that she would donate that to the town. And Don never really was too keen on it, but that's one piece of land that we could probably have. I don't know whether it'll work, but there's an entrance to it, there's a right of way through it. And so that's so far as where Stan and I have gone.
I mean, I have mentioned to him too, also, we own the land where we just logged the red pine across from the town shed, that we own that property, and could that be transformed into leveling it a little bit and something? There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of sites that Don's happy with.
I know.
So, take it for what it is. I don't know what to do, but otherwise, there was a lot. I know that Mr. Peel is also selling his property up here, and he does have 2 lots. Then they're right behind the Nature Museum. I think they abut the property, Joe, that you had just purchased too. Maybe even looking into purchasing a piece of property might be worth it. Bill and I kind of just looked at the map and thought the location being in the village and all that would be kind of nice. But it is something though that we just need to, I just wanted to raise the attention again and get the thinking started again in a serious manner.
Well, I don't want to put words in Stan's mouth because he might not 100% agree with me, but the trouble with Don, it's difficult working with Don because there's no perfect site. So I don't know how we overcome that. You know what I mean? I mean, who's going to make a decision on whether it's a good site or a bad site or a mediocre site? I have no idea what his criteria is.
But the thing is, the board is the commissioners. So, and yes, Don is the agent when it comes to the paperwork and, doing the whole mapping and all. But you guys are actually the commissioners of the cemetery.
Didn't think we had a commission.
I think what we've got to do, and I agree with the whole thing, and Joe's right. We've sort of pursued it. I mean, not really active, and I think it's something that has to be on the list. It's absolutely something that we have to accomplish within the next, pick a time frame, 2 years or something. But maybe we ought to have a specification list or some sort of a spec on what's the minimum size piece of property that we're going to buy. How long is that going to last? Are we looking at a piece of land for the next 20 years, 50 years, or what? Should there be something with percentage of slope on it? Should there be something is there a certain amount of ledge that you want to not be purchasing if we have to buy a piece of land? I just think there ought to be something that we could go by, some criteria for the piece of land that we're looking at. I know it's going to make it tougher to.
I was going to say, that's going to make it really tough. I think at first just scope out different pieces of land and then see if it fits your desire and your criteria, rather than put the criteria there first and then try and find something to fit it, because I don't think that'll happen. We'll be in a Don situation.
Criteria, whether it's before or after.
What would happen if the board wrote an article and put it in the Grafton News that we're looking to purchase or looking for a donation of additional land for a cemetery? And maybe there is somebody who would come forward. I don't know.
Well, that's exactly what Bill and I had talked about and wondered if that would be a possibility. There might be somebody out there that's got this beautiful piece that would like to donate or sell us at a decent price.
Joe, there was a site years ago, the Burgess Cemetery, that Tim Mueller, who owns it now, he was interested because he was talking to Peter Pill at the time. And it was interest there, but then nobody ever followed through on that. That's where they were logging. That's where they're logging.
Right, but he owns that now, right?
Yeah, he still owns it.
So is that the piece on the left-hand side of the road?
Yeah, the road that you go down in. The road you
What
go down into the cemetery,
Yeah, what side though?
left-hand
Same
side,
size
where
as
the,
Left hand.
where they're logging.
Yep.
Yeah, see, but just bringing it up again, it gets people start thinking, and like now we got John in on it and who's got some other ideas. Like, I just think it needs to get back on the table again.
I
Well,
agree.
the site that you have that probably that you would be able to use is the Tanya Evans site. If somebody would go there and say, well, yeah, no, it works, or no, it doesn't work, as a possibility. And then maybe this other site here that Buller owns, maybe that's another possibility, if he's so inclined to donate or sell.
Is that another?
Decision that it's an appropriate site unless you have some criteria.
Well, see, Don says, well, it's wet in there, and, you know, I don't know if it's wet. I mean, I'd have to go in there, I guess, and dig some test pits to see if it's wet. I mean, I don't know. Is there any standards for, state has any standards on cemetery plots or burial ground, whatever?
Very little, but I can dig out the book that we do have, or they actually have one online through VLCT. Maybe forming you're gonna do it with other things, is get a committee maybe? Or a small group of you, so you don't have, you know, a quorum, and do some research and look at some sites. And
Well, Stan and I are working with Devo and everything. I mean, if somebody else wants to join us, that's great, but I mean, we can pursue that, I think, Stan, I mean, right now it's a little difficult to do with the situation, but.
right, exactly, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying
And
anything to move on right now, but.
Yeah, he's ready to go whenever things clear up.
Yeah, he's got to watch himself right now, health-wise.
You know,
But I mean,
Be careful.
Stan and I could meet with Evans and walk the site and take a look. And then, you know, maybe we'll run an article, an ad in the paper, an article in the paper about maybe somebody would come forward. And then, you know, once this whole thing kind of quiets down, we could send a letter or call somebody knows Tim Muller. Maybe he'd be willing to do something if John said he's willing to do something with Peter years ago.
Yeah, I can talk to Tim.
I think that's a good idea.
There.
I think the site conditions are pretty easy. You need access to get in there to be able to get in for the burials, but it's soil type, and there are soil maps that are out there that show different soil types. There's maps that show well-drained sites, rocky sites, you know, good soil. If we asked the Soil Conservation Service to come and look at it, if we had a couple of sites in mind, they would be able to come and do some test pits, you know, and they wouldn't have to dig with a big machine. They can do it with a little hand auger to determine what kind of soil's there. But accessing good soil, that's really the two main requirements.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we put an article in the paper? Why doesn't Bill contact Muller? And as soon as this thing is over, Stan and I can meet with the Evanses and see if they're still interested, and then we can have the soil guys come down and do a sampling to see whether or not it's acceptable.
You know, if you could do that, that's a good start. You could also take a map with, Bill could do the Atlas program and put a mark on the map where these properties are that we're considering or thinking about. Send that to the Soil Conservation Service, and they can pull up the soil type maps for those areas. They would be a good starting point in the discussion on soil type.
All right, well, maybe Bill could, since it's difficult to have a face-to-face, but maybe Bill could send to Stan and I an area that we could designate as where the Evans's field is, and then move from there.
Yeah, I can do that. Kim and I already did maps of that in several areas, but I can make a better map.
Okay. So we'll just put this on the agenda on a regular basis so that we just keep going.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Do we have any other business?
I got one. Is it possible to get an updated expenditure report printed out or sent to me or something?
I sent one out to you. Did it not go, or did it go to your old? I thought I sent it to your new email.
I didn't get it, no. When did you send it? Yeah.
Sometime last week.
No, I haven't seen, unless I just deleted it. Well, when I transferred over, some of the stuff didn't get in.
Okay, I'll send it again in a few minutes when we end the meeting.
Okay, there's no hurry, just whenever you can get to it.
I did the balance sheet along with the expenditure, so you can
Okay.
see what's in the reserve and where we stand for our fund balance.
Okay, thank you.
Any other business?
Weren't we gonna bring up about the warrants?
Oh, the
Right.
warrants, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Single signature.
Good thing you have a young mind, John.
I signed them this morning myself.
I'll sign them tonight. I don't mind going up and signing them.
Well, Kathy signed them too. But what we thought is if the law really provides, what you guys had decided at the beginning of the last term in 2018 is that all of you were going to sign them rather than just one of you. And then we present them at the board meeting. The law allows you to appoint one person to sign them, and then we present them at the board meeting. And what we would prefer is just one person come in the office during this time. That's what Kim and I prefer, but it's up to you guys. And we already have it signed by Kathy, and we have it signed by Joe right now. So what I would like, and I think Kim as treasurer would like, is you guys decide who that person is going to be and appoint that person in the interim until we can get the office open again. Does that one person come in and sign it?
I make a motion in the interim that Chairman Joe Palio has signature to sign on behalf of the full board.
I'll second it.
Okay with me. I normally what I do is when I see Michelle working on a Sunday, when I go down to get my paper, I usually know that this Sunday, I saw her there working, but unfortunately I got involved and I didn't get the email until later, so I went in early this morning. But normally I do, when she's done, I go in Sunday afternoon to sign it all by myself and get it done. I bring my own pen. I bring my own pen with me, and that's it. And the hand sanitizers, and it's done.
It took her a little longer this Sunday. She had a few questions. She had her computer is actually acting up. I have to get in touch with the IT, and we had a long discussion. And yeah, she said this is kind of rough territory for her right now too. You know, coping with school, the kids, and also it took her much longer on Sunday. And she actually left and then had to come back just to take a breather.
Okay, but Alan, could you amend the motion so that this is only a temporary thing until it's over?
I said the interim.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Okay, and I will amend it by putting in the code section, the VSA code section, which I don't have off the top of my head. If that's okay.
So you don't need any more signatures on these?
No.
And then what?
Correct,
There's some,
Kim, you answered that. We don't need any more signatures. These are no.
No, we're okay. And again, Bill will send to you guys prior to the meetings or actually, as soon as they're done, what we'll do is we'll send you a copy of the invoices like you usually get, or the 3-4 pages. And then you guys can actually go through it looking at just the NEMRIC listing of what we're paying without having the actual invoices in front of you. And if you have a question, then give Bill or I a call and we can pull up that invoice if you have a question.
and what I will do if I see a bill or something that I don't particularly like or see or know, I will flag it, and then Kim can deal with it at a later date.
Yep. Great.
Okay.
Yep.
So we have a motion and a second.
Okay, so any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Do we have any other business? No?
Do you have any publics that want to speak?
Well, unfortunately, Suzanne, I don't think Suzanne can even hear this meeting. Could you, Suzanne?
No, I can't hear the meeting, but I've gotten a lot out of it by just listening to you.
Okay, because I didn't think about, she couldn't hear, the sound goes in my ear. If I was using my headphones, I could put it on the other speaker, but I can't do it this way. So I apologize, Suzanne.
No, that's okay. I'm sure we'll figure it out. I'm happy to get part of the meeting than none of the meeting.
Okay, when you, yeah, let's talk later about how you could get it on your phone, so.
Oh, sure,
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay.
So you and I can take that up later.
So the question is, isn't this live stream? Isn't this live stream by Fact TV?
Oh, yes, it's live streamed by Fact TV too, Suzanne, so you can watch it.
Oh, yeah. Why didn't I think of that?
I didn't think about it. Well, think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like a paid to
Is
be.
there anything you need from me?
If there's, okay, if there's no other business,
Actually, I have, on our screen was the little box for a
Okay.
comment.
Yeah, thanks.
And Jessa West Clark's comment was asking if you are taking public comment on cemeteries, have we given thought to a natural cemetery?
what's a natural cemetery?
I'm gonna say I'm not really sure what a natural cemetery is. I see Joe, either Joe or Jessa are still on.
I think Joe is.
Yeah, I'm still on. She's had to go on to other things. I'll let her know and ask her to expand upon that, and maybe next meeting or send you an
Yeah,
email.
or just send an
something.
email, Joe, that would be good.
Yeah, I'll do
Okay,
that.
all right, thanks, Joe.
Okay, thank you. If we have no other business, then we need a motion to enter executive session for a, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's a personnel matter concerning the regulations of the coronavirus. I guess that's for, unless Bill, you have a better
Make that motion.
second?
How is this actually going to happen electronically? I mean, this is going to be,
Well, just make sure everybody else is off. Everybody else has to get off.
Okay.
That's all.
nobody can listen that's in the background.
I can see who's on.
Okay, so we need a second.
Second,
Okay, all in favor? Do we have any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
All right.
aye.